The United States stands at a moment of destiny. Two paths lie before the nation, and the world is watching. On one side is Donald J. Trump, a force of action, energy, and unwavering determination. On the other is Joe Biden, a seasoned politician, carrying experience yet shadowed by doubt and hesitation. Trump's return to the White House has been nothing short of extraordinary. In just 1 year, he has transformed border security, reduced illegal migration, and crushed fentanyl trafficking by more than half. Cities across the nation witness historic drops in violent crime as federal forces strike against gangs and criminal networks. Every move sends a message: America comes first, and the safety of its citizens is non-negotiable. The 2026 National Defense Strategy under Trump is a bold declaration of strength. Homeland security rises to the top. The United States establishes permanent military presence in the Western Hemisphere, projecting power in the Caribbean at levels unseen since the Cuban Missile Crisis. China faces deterrence through unmatched strength, a balance of power meant to secure peace. Russia is left to Europe, while America refocuses its priorities. Each decision, each deployment signals one unshakable truth: America will protect itself first. No excuses, no compromises. Biden faces a storm of skepticism. Questions about his age, stamina, and clarity of thought dominate discussions. During debates, he struggles to convey energy and urgency. Analysts call his performance hesitant, sometimes incoherent, leaving Americans uneasy, unsure if he can lead decisively in times of crisis. Trump, on the other hand, commands attention with every gesture, every word. Confidence radiates from him. He speaks with force, with conviction, with a certainty that ignites hope among his supporters. They see a leader unafraid to confront challenges head-on, a president willing to defy critics and push forward with bold action. The economy under Trump tells a story of revival. Trillions in investment return to American soil. Jobs are created, wages rise, inflation drops, energy production reaches record highs, peace deals are struck abroad. Every statistic, every headline reinforces one message: results matter, and America thrives under decisive leadership. Meanwhile, Biden struggles to turn experience into inspiration. Knowledge exists, but it fails to energize, to reassure. Opportunities to address critical threats or defend democracy slip away, leaving voters unsettled, questioning, anxious. The stakes could not be higher. America's security, economy, and global influence hang in the balance. Trump offers bold action, relentless energy, and assertive leadership. Biden offers experience, caution, and measured steps. But can measured steps match the urgency of the moment? The nation stands at a crossroads. Hearts pound, eyes are fixed on the future. The choice between boldness and caution, action and hesitation, confidence and doubt will define America for generations to come. The border, the very line that defines America, is where Trump's resolve shines brightest. Illegal crossings plummet to their lowest level in decades. Millions are deported, the worst criminals removed, traffickers dismantled. Cities breathe easier as gangs like MS-13 face federal crackdown. Every checkpoint, every mile of wall, every National Guard deployment carries the unmistakable message: America will not be overrun. Trump's approach is unapologetic, unrelenting. Critics call it harsh, even controversial, but results speak louder than words. Fentanyl shipments shrink by more than half, criminal networks crumble, communities once plagued by violence feel the relief of action, not promises. For Trump, leadership is not about debate, it is about doing, enforcing, and protecting. Contrast this with Biden. Questions about crime, immigration, and public safety linger unanswered. Hesitation shadows every statement. Where Trump strikes and acts, Biden pauses and deliberates. The contrast is stark. Americans watch, worried. Can a leader without urgency face threats head-on? The economy, too, reveals a story of two approaches. Under Trump, job creation surges, wages rise, and energy independence is restored. Industries return, manufacturing booms, and Americans feel the tangible lift of a president who prioritizes results over rhetoric. The nation hums with renewed confidence. Biden speaks of experience, yet experience alone cannot revive confidence. Policy intentions exist, but delivery falters. In debates, he struggles to convey clarity, passion, and conviction. Words falter, momentum stalls. Meanwhile, Trump's every statement energizes supporters, ignites debate, and dominates headlines. Defense and military strategy under Trump amplify the stakes. Homeland security is paramount, yet the focus extends beyond borders. The Western Hemisphere becomes a fortress. Naval fleets, once sparse, surge in presence. Troops are deployed not for show, but for permanent readiness. China is warned. Strength is not negotiable. Russia is contained. Allies are expected to step up while America leads decisively. Each decision, each initiative carries weight. Trump's America First doctrine is not abstract. It is lived, enforced, and measured in results. Citizens watching from the heartland to the coast feel the pulse of action, direct, assertive, unflinching. Biden, with all his experience, must compete not just with policies, but with energy, momentum, and perception. Can measured caution meet the demands of a fast-moving world? Can hesitancy inspire confidence when every threat, every challenge is immediate and tangible? The tension builds. Every American, every voter, every observer senses the contrast. One leader acts, one leader hesitates. One inspires hope with audacity, the other struggles to convey it with words. On the world stage, the stakes could not be higher. Trump's approach is bold, direct, unashamedly America first. Allies are expected to contribute. Adversaries are warned with clarity. The Caribbean sees the largest U.S. naval presence in decades. Venezuela feels the pressure. The Monroe Doctrine is reimagined. This is no temporary surge. This is permanent projection of power. Trump's message is clear. America will defend its hemisphere, its interests, its people. China looms large, yet Trump addresses the challenge with a mix of caution and strength. Peace through power. Trade, diplomacy, and military readiness converge. Taiwan, while not always explicitly mentioned, benefits from deterrence and readiness. Unlike the past, Trump does not flinch from showing strength. He blends strategy with spectacle, sending signals both to friends and rivals. America leads. Contrast this with Biden. Discussions of foreign policy often drift. Words of support are offered, yet they lack the punch, the urgency, the perception of resolve. Issues like Gaza, Palestinian rights, or the global economy are addressed with measured tones, but the message feels muted, lacking the energy that Trump exudes effortlessly. Observers notice the difference. Confidence is not just a policy, it is a presence. Trump's decisiveness also resonates in domestic security. Major cities, once struggling under waves of violent crime, experience federal intervention. Chicago, Memphis, New Orleans, violence drops dramatically. Targeted enforcement, relentless focus, and unflinching resolve restore order. For many Americans, safety feels tangible again. Meanwhile, Biden struggles to deliver clear solutions. Questions about public safety, healthcare, and economic challenges are met with halting explanations. The public witnesses a contrast between action and hesitation, momentum and deliberation. Energy, charisma, and decisiveness matter as much as policy. Trump has all three. Biden, increasingly, only intention. And yet the narrative is complex. Trump's actions spark controversy, headlines, and fierce debate. Critics decry methods as harsh, extreme, even divisive. Supporters see results, outcomes that change lives, protect communities, and strengthen the nation. Debate rages not just about policies, but about character, priorities, and the very definition of leadership. The world watches. From the streets of American cities to capitals in Europe, Asia, and beyond, the contrast between Trump and Biden is vivid. Leadership is no longer just a title, it is action, presence, perception. Trump acts with certainty, Biden speaks with caution. The consequences are real, immediate, and unmistakable. Every decision, every policy, every public appearance adds to the story Americans are living, one of urgency, of risk and results versus hesitation, deliberation, and hope tempered by uncertainty. The economy stands as one of the clearest battlegrounds between these two leaders. Trump's message is simple: growth, jobs, and American prosperity first. Under his administration, job creation surges, blue-collar wages climb, trillions in investment are reshored, factories hum, energy production hits record highs, inflation is tamed, gas prices drop. Trump speaks in action, and Americans feel it in their paychecks, in the cost of living, in opportunities returned to their communities. Biden, meanwhile, struggles to convey impact. Policies are explained carefully, yet the connection to everyday lives feels distant. Inflation, housing, and wages remain points of concern. Americans listening ask themselves which vision brings tangible results, which leadership restores confidence. Healthcare is another arena of emotion and consequence. Trump focuses on action, streamlining bureaucracy, cutting costs, targeting waste. Policies aim to protect Americans while reinforcing responsibility and accountability. Every decision is framed as a victory for citizens, every measure a step toward fairness and efficiency. Biden's healthcare messaging emphasizes compassion, care, and continuity, yet the delivery often falters, lacking the urgency and conviction Trump exudes. Words of intention, while noble, sometimes fail to translate into perceivable change for the average American. Citizens weigh not just plans, but the energy behind them, the perceived ability to execute, and the emotional reassurance of leadership. Public perception has become a battleground itself. Trump dominates the stage with confidence, charisma, and spectacle. Every debate, every speech, every executive order conveys strength. Even critics admit he captivates, energizes, mobilizes. Biden, in contrast, must rely on experience, empathy, and steadiness. Yet in moments of pressure, hesitation and faltering delivery create doubt. Americans watch, feel, and react not just to policies, but to the very aura of leadership. Emotion matters. Safety, security, and prosperity are inseparable from trust. Trump delivers results and spectacle together, feeding a narrative of action and momentum. Biden relies on moral authority and measured strategy, but the contrast in energy is stark. Confidence, decisiveness, and presence shape perception as much as laws and regulations do. And as the nation looks forward, the stakes could not be higher. Every economic indicator, every border enforcement measure, every public safety initiative becomes part of a larger story, one of urgency, of risk, and of who Americans believe can protect their future. Trump promises speed, force, and dominance. Biden seeks prudence, balance, and continuity. The battle for hearts and minds intensifies with the passing days. On the global stage, the contrast between Trump and Biden is impossible to ignore. Trump speaks with force, clarity, and confidence. America First is not just a slogan, it's a strategy. Borders, hemispheres, trade, and allies are all measured through the lens of national strength. Under Trump, the U.S. projects power, secures hemispheric dominance, and ensures adversaries think twice before testing American resolve. Every decision, from naval deployments in the Caribbean to trade negotiations with China, carries weight and urgency. Biden, in contrast, emphasizes diplomacy, coalition building, and careful deliberation. Alliances are nurtured, multilateralism prioritized, and measured rhetoric dominates. Yet while the intent is clear, stability, cooperation, and reducing conflict, the delivery can feel slow, bureaucratic, and sometimes emotionally distant. In moments of global tension, Americans ask, who can act decisively, protect U.S. interests, and maintain credibility abroad? China, Russia, and the Indo-Pacific region become symbols of this stark difference. Trump warns of China's rising power, advocating deterrence and peace through strength, while balancing trade and negotiations. Russia is framed as a threat to be managed, with Europe expected to take the lead in defense, while the U.S. secures the homeland and its hemisphere. Trump's global posture is energetic, assertive, and unapologetic, designed to inspire both allies and fear in adversaries. Biden, meanwhile, frames China as a competitor to be managed, Russia as a challenge to navigate carefully, and alliances as essential instruments of influence. His approach relies on coalition credibility, negotiation, and the hope that diplomacy and cooperation prevent conflict. Yet in an age of fast-moving crises, this measured approach risks being seen as cautious, slow, or indecisive by a public conditioned to demand immediate action. Human emotion again plays a decisive role. Americans watch and feel. Pride, fear, hope, and trust all intertwine, and Trump's assertive style energizes, reassures, and commands attention. Biden's approach appeals to reason, morality, and process, but sometimes leaves the audience yearning for more vigor, more immediacy, more emotional connection. The battlefield of perception is as real as any battlefield abroad. Leadership is measured not only by policy outcomes, but by the confidence, courage, and decisiveness displayed in moments of tension. Trump thrives on spectacle and narrative dominance. Biden relies on experience and moral authority. Each choice, each statement, each action becomes a test of who Americans believe can lead in a world of uncertainty, where both domestic and international crises demand clarity, strength, and emotional resonance. As the 2026 election approaches, a global stage, the economy, and domestic security are intertwined. Americans are not only choosing policies, they are choosing a tone, a rhythm, a leadership style that will define the next chapter of the nation's story. The final chapter of this story is about leadership, legacy, and the stakes for every American. The 2026 election is not just a political contest, it is a test of character, vision, and the very soul of the nation. Trump's supporters see a leader who acts decisively, who dares to challenge norms, who puts the country first in every decision. Every border secured, every trade deal renegotiated, every military deployment framed as strength, these are proof to them that bold action matters. Biden supporters see a president who values experience, moral judgment, and coalition building, a leader who believes in diplomacy, in measured action, in upholding institutions even when it is unpopular. Biden appeals to reason, ethics, and long-term stability. He asks Americans to trust in process and judgment even when the drama of instant results is missing. Yet emotions shape choices more than facts alone. Fear, hope, pride, anger, and love of country drive votes as much as statistics or policy papers. Trump speaks to the heart with bold, sometimes raw declarations. Biden appeals to conscience, fairness, and the idea of unity. Both approaches have power, both have limits, and both will leave lasting marks on history. The stakes could not be higher. Domestic security, economic stability, global influence, and the preservation of democratic norms all hang in the balance. One election decides not just who sits in the Oval Office, but which vision guides the nation, one of assertive, unapologetic power, or one of experienced, principled deliberation. As the nation watches, debates, and votes, Americans confront a choice between vigor and caution, spectacle and experience, disruption and continuity. Each citizen's decision carries weight, shaping the country's future in ways both immediate and profound. This is more than a contest of policies. It is a contest for trust, confidence, and belief in the future. Trump and Biden represent not only different approaches to leadership, but fundamentally different narratives about America's place in the world, the values it prioritizes, and the way it confronts challenges at home and abroad. In the end, the story of Trump versus Biden is the story of America itself, a nation wrestling with its identity, its priorities, and the kind of leadership it demands. The 2026 election is the moment when these choices converge, when every speech, every debate, and every vote becomes a chapter in a larger story, one that will define the country for years to come. The question remains, which path will Americans choose?